Okay, in this video I want to look at Australia's response to COVID. The pandemic started like January 2020, and we originally had quite a few cases coming in, mainly from ships and stuff like that, from cruise ships. Then most Australian states closed their borders. I personally played a big part in getting Western Australia to close its border, as did Dr. Andrew Miller, who was the president of the AMA. Anyhow, Australia was zero COVID, but there was a quarantine breach in Melbourne, in Victoria, and Australia then had its second wave. And Victoria went through another lockdown of about 4 or 5 months. In fact, they hold the record for the longest lockdown. So eventually Australia got back to zero COVID, and it stayed that way until mid 2021. And the problem is that the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, was allowing people to travel in and out of Australia at the rate of 40,000 a month. I think it's 40,000 a month. 40,000 in, 40,000 out. And these are people just traveling and not even quarantining, because sometimes we had outbreaks in Sydney from the rich suburbs where clearly there was no quarantine taking place. But in any case, Scott Morrison was intent to break the hotel quarantine system, which was working really well, by just putting more and more pressure on it. So Australia started to lose control, and then Morrison wanted to get rid of the vaccine, especially the AstraZeneca vaccine, which was not a very good choice. So he got everyone to panic, and he basically, with the Premier of New South Wales, Gladys Berejiklian, they basically allowed COVID in, and they said, "Oh, we can't stop the Delta variant; it's too infectious," which was wrong. They could have. So basically, COVID came in, and you can see that here. And look at the size of this hump here. Most of these infections occurred while people were running out into the public to get the vaccine while the virus was around. Then what happened is Omicron came along, and then look at the size of Omicron wave from whatever we had. Look, you can't even see these first wave. This one, the one in Melbourne, and you can't see the Delta wave. The Omicron wave, this is relative to population, I'll take that off. We actually got to more than 100,000 cases a day. All right. Now, I'll leave it like that, and I'll continue. So that was the first Omicron wave. That was BA.1. Then following that, we had a second wave of BA.2. Then we had another wave following that, another peak with BA.4, BA.5, and then we had subsequent waves. Actually, these are like other variants that were now starting to form. In fact, there's about 1,000 subvariants of Omicron. Some of them shouldn't even be called Omicron, because some of them actually crossovers. They are recombinant variants. One, XBC, is a recombinant variant between Omicron, BA2, and the Delta strain. So they shouldn't be called that, Omicron. But anyhow, there's about 1,000 of them. And then we received another wave here. that may have even been BA5. And now we're getting subsequent waves. We're not actually testing very much, so you can't see how big these waves are. But the number of cases, what I'm looking at here is the number of COVID cases a day, is probably 4 times what is shown here because there's less testing. So Australia's probably on the order of about 80,000 cases a day at this stage, maybe more. And then it's gone down again, and we're going to experience a new wave. And they've actually reduced testing again. They've closed a lot of the testing clinics down. Okay, so there was a pretty big bump here. The death rate, this was the alpha variant. Its death rate, its case fatality rate was somewhere between 4 and 6%. Delta had a case fatality rate of about 3%. Omicron almost flu-like with a case fatality rate of 0.15%. But even so, let's have a look at how many people died. And most of them actually died in the Omicron period because there were so many people infected. And even now, as many people are dying right now, as many people are dying as the worst time ever. Yet the government is pretending that COVID is gone, that the pandemic is over. How can they even think that the pandemic's over when as many people are dying? And we're going to get new variants coming in soon. We're going to get XBB.1.5, which is in the USA. Australia has its own special variant, which other countries are only just starting to get, XBF, all right, which is a recombinant between two Omicron subvariants. I can't remember the ones now, so I won't guess. Then we can add to this the United States and the UK and make it relative to population. And you can see Australia is not faring very well at all. In fact, over the last year, Australia's probably fared worse per capita than the USA and the UK. But this is also, the UK and USA actually had a lot of deaths earlier on, which we didn't. So we're in catch-up mode. The vaccines have basically failed anyhow. So what will happen is Australia will be in catch-up mode. And we have a look at what else we're going to look at, the case for fatality rates. I don't really want to look at the UK. So just look at Australia. The case fatality rate by Omicron come along, dropped to 0.05, in fact, it says here. So I thought it was more like 0.15. Now it looks like it's going up, but it's actually not really, because what's happening is they're not testing. They're not testing, they're letting the virus spread. They thought that herd immunity was possible with the vaccine. It never was. It wasn't possible for the Delta variants. Even at this stage, it wasn't possible. It's definitely not possible with the Omicron variant, which is the R0 value greater than 30. If it's greater than 30, you would basically have to vaccinate 99.5% of the population, and the efficacy of the vaccine has to be above 95%, and the current efficacy of the vaccine is probably only about 40% to maybe 50%. All right, so it's impossible. So then they thought that they could allow everyone to get infected, and we get to herd immunity by natural infection. That is also not possible as well. The variants are coming in so thick and fast, especially if you pretend that the pandemic's over. You're allowing people to spread the virus. Every person who gets the virus in their cells, it mutates. It mutates. Not just that, a person can be infected with 2 or more subvariants at the same time. And when this happens, we get recombinant variants. And we actually have a lot of them as well. We have on the order of 100 or more, of them. Most, there's mainly a few classes of them, but there's a lot of them, and there'll be more of them. Okay, the problem is that the more the virus mutates and crosses over, there's a chance it could lead to a much more deadlier virus again.